Iran and US failed to come to an agreement to end the Middle East war. Mainland unveils package to boost ties with Taiwan on last day of KMT leaders' visit. And Security Chief Chris Tung says all those arrested but not charged in 2019 protests can join rehab program. Good evening. Welcome to TVB News. The United States and Iran failed to reach an agreement at the end of historic face-to-face talks after the US said Tehran refused to commit to not developing a nuclear weapon, leaving uncertainty over a fragile two-week ceasefire. Vice President J.D. Vance led the US delegation with the talks lasting 21 hours in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. Vance was in constant communication with President Donald Trump and others in the administration. Tracy Furness has more.
The historic talks between the US Vice President and Iran ended with no positive outcome for all concerned, according to Vance.
The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could. And they have chosen not to accept our terms.
Speaking to reporters outside the White House Saturday, US President Donald Trump claimed victory against Iran and downplayed the importance of ongoing ceasefire negotiations.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of reports. They've been meeting for many hours, as you probably have noticed. We'll see what happens. Look, regardless, we win. Regardless what happens, we win. We've totally defeated that country. And so let's see what happens. Maybe they make a deal, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. From the standpoint of America, we win.
And at the Vatican, in his strongest words yet, Pope Leo XIV denounced the delusion and omnipotence that is fueling the US-Israel war in Iran and demanded political leaders stop and negotiate peace.
Un regno in cui non c'è spada.
The Pope didn't mention the United States or President Trump in his prayer, which was planned before the talks were announced. But Leo's tone and message appeared directed at Trump and US officials who have boasted of US military superiority and justified war in religious terms. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Lebanon turned to Israel last month for direct peace negotiations. This as thousands took to the streets of Beirut Saturday to protest against Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam's planned negotiations with Israel. And others protest in Tel Aviv, calling for an end to Israel's eternal war with Lebanon. Tracy Furness again.
Hezbollah supporters burning a portrait of Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam. Protesters chanting, Nawaf Salam is a Zionist. And chanting, "We are at your service," Hassan Nasrallah, referring to the former Secretary General of Hezbollah killed in Israeli strikes in 2024. These were the scenes on the streets of Beirut Saturday, the crowd angry about the planned negotiations between their Prime Minister and Israel.
Actually, we are here to because we don't accept what's going on about the direct negotiation between Nawaf and Israeli. So we will never leave here until they stop the negotiation.
This is the funerals of the 13 members of Lebanon's State Security Service who were killed Friday in an Israeli strike in Nabataya took place in Sidon Saturday.
The Israeli bombing and strikes hit various government buildings in Nabataya, the government office as well as the state security office, killing 13 officers and wounding many more. This comes as Israel is at war with the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon, but it's a conflict in which the Lebanese government and its institutions, including the army and state security, have sought to remain a sort of neutral third party.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Saturday that Lebanon turned to Israel last month to direct peace negotiations, which has never happened to us in history, Netanyahu said in a video address. And anti-war protesters filled Tel Aviv's Habina Square Saturday evening, holding up signs and calling on an end to Israelis' eternal war, chanting, "More suffering in Lebanon will not bring us security."
This is a war that does not bring us any safety, any security. It only harms the people of the Middle East, and it also harms the people of Israel. We are here knowing now, after the ceasefire, that it did not achieve any of its goals.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Hungarians began casting their vote Sunday in what is seen as Europe's highest profile election this year. It is a key moment for Prime Minister Viktor Orban, one of European Union's biggest antagonists, who moved from a liberal anti-Soviet firebrand to the Russian-friendly nationalist. Thousands gathered in Budapest on Saturday for Orban's final election rally. This election is the most significant test of his career as his challenger Péter Magyar's centre-right Tisza party is leading by wide margins in most independent polls. However, many observers expect the results to be close, as Orban can likely mobilize its base of support in the countryside. Magyar also held a major rally in Debrecen, Hungary's second-largest city, on Saturday. Magyar, a 45-year-old lawyer, has toured the country's cities, towns and villages for 2 years in an effort to win over Orban's rural support. Kuomintang chairwoman Chen Li-wen has wrapped up a 6-day visit to the mainland and departed Beijing. Head of the Taiwan Work Office, Song Tao, saw her delegation off at the Beijing Capital International Airport this afternoon. This while Beijing offers incentives to Taipei, including possible resumption of direct flights across the strait. Chen Li-wen on Sunday morning stepped inside the Xiaomi Auto Superfactory in Beijing, the final stop of a mainland trip from April the 7th to 12th. Upon entering, the chairwoman was greeted by a cohort of Xiaomi executives and then walked together through the company's development. The delegation saw firsthand the high capacity of smart manufacturing at the base, where Chen complimented the color of the vehicle, saying, "The girls will love that." Liu Weibing, president of Xiaomi, explained that passengers can put their suitcases at the front. He further highlighted the usage of the rubber plug, as it could load the trunk with fish and water and then drain it of liquid once people get back home. Cheng, surprised by the special function, was invited to sit in the car. When asked about her experience, she replied, "Only one word comes to my mind: marvelous." Meanwhile, mainland has rolled out a package of 10 policies and measures spanning infrastructure, trade and culture, aimed at boosting exchanges and cooperation with Taiwan. Atop the initiatives is a proposal to establish a regular communication mechanism between the Chinese Communist Party and Kuomintang. 20 youth groups from Taiwan will be invited to visit the mainland for exchanges each year. Efforts will be made to fully resume regular direct flights across the Taiwan Strait, and Kinmen will be supported to use a new airport in the nearby Xiamen city. The mainland will help explore building walls and berths in regions where conditions permit for distant water fishing vessels from Taiwan. Plans to resume individual tours for Shanghai and Fujian residents to Taiwan are also unveiled. KMT Vice Chair Chang Rong-kong said the two parties have reached a high level of consensus after the meetings. Chang said the KMT welcomes the new measures announced by Beijing and expects their unhindered advancement through concerted efforts by relevant sides in Taiwan. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said the government will identify some designated organizations as critical infrastructure by June. Tang said the computer systems of the identified organizations will be covered by stronger regulations under the Protection of Critical Infrastructures Ordinance. Mimosa Ngai reports.
The Protection of Critical Infrastructures Ordinance has been in effect since January 1st. Under the ordinance, 8 sectors' computer systems are regulated, including energy and healthcare. In light of the data breach incident of the hospital authority that led to the theft of information of more than 56,000 patients, some people questioned whether the ordinance had been applied. On a TVB program, Security Secretary Chris Tang said authorities need about 6 months to identify designated organizations that require regulation under the legislation.
It will be the first batch of organizations will be designated as critical infrastructure in around June. So by then, those organizations being designated as CI, and they have to be under the new requirement. So, for example, a healthcare unit, right? In that, what you mentioned, the incident. So, if under the new provision, and there's a prevention responsibility of that organization.
Separately, more than 7,000 individuals have been arrested but not prosecuted for events linked to the 2019 anti-extradition bill protests. Tan said the government has launched a special rehabilitation program hoping to provide a second chance for young people who he described as not bad at heart.
They are being incited with this kind of hatred, with false information, with false news, and now they are very remorseful. We are trying to organize a special program for those people. Some of them, they're really scared about, am I able to go to China? Will I be arrested? And then we'll take them to China to see what's happening.
Asked if authorities would admit individuals to the program based on any criteria, Tan said the project will open for anyone who seeks the opportunity. The security chief said national security threats will never disappear, stressing the need to stay vigilant. Moments 9, TVB News.
The Fire Services Department held an open day on Sunday to support the upcoming National Security Education Day. Parents who brought their children to the event said it provides a chance for them to understand the work of firefighters. Mo Sang-ai reports.
A group of firefighters were rescuing a trapped passenger from a car that's landed on one side. Paramedics moved the trapped man onto a stretcher before delivering him to the hospital. While the traffic accident may seem real, it is a rescue demonstration of the Fire Services Department at its National Security Education Open Day. Held at the Fire and Ambulance Services Academy in Chengguano, the event aims to strengthen public's awareness of the FSD's work on safeguarding national security and public order. Can you name all these FSD's vehicles? Another activity highlight is this car parade featuring a total of 19 vehicles of the department, including this robotic-looking truck which stations at the Hong Kong International Airport. Many residents came to see the performances, with some dressed up as firefighters. Financial Secretary Paul Chan was among the spectators. By noon, the academy was filled with visitors who were largely parents and children.
He loves the atmosphere. He loves the shows. Like we went to see the show, the rescue show in the water. I think for firefighter, I mean, this is not an easy job, so that's also for them like a way to show to the public like a glimpse of what it looks like for them.
On the lawn, game booths were set up for the public to learn about the FSD's work through a more interactive way. Moments 9, TVB News.
And still ahead. Government says 98% of the destroyed Wanfu Block's households agreed to pack up according to official timeline. Burned offerings at Diamond Hill UIN Cemetery injured mother and son. And a colourful battery ready to supply electricity to a neighbourhood in Australia. Welcome back. Practically all of the destroyed Wanfu Court Block's households have agreed to the government's assigned time slots to return and collect their personal items. Regarding the wishes of those seeking a second visit, Deputy Chief Secretary Warner Chuk said the government may arrange further access, drawing on the experience of the first round. Samantha Lee reports.
From April 20th to May 4th, displaced residents from the 7 fire-ravaged Wanfu Court buildings will return in phases to retrieve essential items. Each person is allowed a maximum stay of 3 hours. Officials' figures showed 98% of the 1,730 households have confirmed their slots assigned by the government. For those currently out of Hong Kong, Deputy Chief Secretary Warner Chuk said alternative arrangements will be made. Those unable to make it this time will certainly have another chance, said Chuk. In response to some residents who wish to attend the public hearings, Chuk said they may receive another time slot that will not clash with the inquiry. Meanwhile, around 380 households told their assigned social workers that they want a follow-up visit. Chuk stated that the government will make plans after evaluating the initial phase. He believes some residents might change their minds after entering their destroyed homes, while those in units largely undamaged might want another visit as they may have more to collect. If there are residents who have special needs or a desire to go back again, they may reach out to their assigned social workers. We will see what we can do, said Chuk. Residents will be provided with protective gear, masks, and plastic bags before they head up to their units. As for the residents of Wan Chi House, the only tower to be undamaged by the blaze, the residents have already had a chance to pack. Chuk revealed they may be able to have another opportunity to return in May. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Amid the global energy crisis, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the city will speed up its shift to green energies. Writing on his weekly blog, the financial chief said Hong Kong will increase its zero-carbon energy to between 60% and 7% by 2035. He revealed that a new energy transmission system will be completed within this year. This Wednesday is the National Security Education Day. He said security is core to the goal of achieving high-quality development, and Hong Kong should enhance its capabilities in risk prevention and emergency response. An overheating exhaust fan triggered a minor fire at the Diamond Hill Columbarium, leaving a woman and a son injured by flying ashes. Samantha Lee with more.
Ashes were seen falling from high up. The fire broke out at around 11 this morning at the Diamond Hill Urn Cemetery. Firefighters arrived and doused the flames. A preliminary investigation found the fire was triggered by an exhaust fan connected to a joss paper burner. A visitor had her hat burned. This lady recalled feeling a sudden heat on her head as ashes began falling. "I just ran," she said, noting how lucky she was to escape. The mother, aged 53, and her 32-year-old son were struck by falling ashes, sustaining burns to their necks and backs. Both were sent to Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Across the United States, gas prices have risen by well over $1 a litre, sending resourceful American drivers to look for a better deal. And they are finding the cheapest fuel on Native American reservations. The price of gasoline has risen since the Iran war began on February the 28th, reaching an average $4.15 a gallon, or around $1.1 per litre. But drivers are finding cheaper fuel on Native American reservations, especially in California, New Mexico, New York, Oklahoma, and Washington state, places with dozens of tribally owned stations, including some in busy travel corridors. Tribes are exempt from state fuel taxes and can sell for much less than competing stations nearby. Prices have been higher, topping $5 during the summer of 2022, but economists believe they will continue heading up and contribute to inflation in the weeks ahead as geopolitical tension persists. Australia's capital, Canberra, is testing neighbourhood-scale batteries, which work like shared power banks to help ease pressure on the local electricity grid. Behind the artwork sits a battery, and it is one of the 400 being funded by the Australian federal government. It stores energy from solar panels in the middle of the day and enabling it to support the grid and households in the evening. With a total cost of more than 300 million Australian dollars once completed, the batteries will be able to store enough energy to power a third of Canberra for 2 hours during peak demand. The Chin Chow Bun Scrambling competition final will take place on May the 24th. Around 200 participants completed training to gain eligibility for the contest. The oldest competitor is 73, while the youngest is 19. Celine Chan reports.
The training took place at the Pak Tai Temple Playground in Changzhou. It might have been a long time since they last climbed the Bun Tower. Some participants needed a helping hand to get onto the structure. But besides a helping hand, perseverance is also needed to succeed. All participants must complete the training to qualify for the selection contest on the 26th of this month. We're seeing many familiar faces today, including the 10-time Bun King Jason Kwok, 6-time Bun Queen Angel Wong, and last year's Bun Queen Jeanette Kong.
This year, it's most likely try my best, and I'm not going to think about the championship, or I will just use all my experience that I have had before and then do my best and try to enjoy the games.
This year's bun scrambling competition has attracted 200 participants. The oldest is 73 and the second oldest is 63.
我想挑戰自己，因為覺得好似
The second oldest participant said he joined the competition to challenge himself. The 63-year-old believed that he can still handle the intensity of the competition after hitting the age of 60 and that nothing is impossible. He thus joined the competition to prove his point despite feeling slightly worried. The qualifying rounds consist of a preliminary and a final round. Ultimately, 12 participants will be selected to compete in the final for the titles of the Bun King and the Bun Queen.
If you're wondering how tall the Bun Tower is, we're here to give you an idea. The entire Bun Tower is about 14 meters tall. A typical residential floor is about 3 meters tall, so climbing all the way to the top is like climbing 5 whole stories. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.